Welcome to Ion Franchising, where you will learn the A to Z's of franchise. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another fabulous episode of Ion Franchising. This is Lance Graulich, your host. Every single day when I'm talking to people and they say, now more than ever, they're saying things like, Lance, can you show me a business that is a need, not a want? Something that is essentially recession-proof, recession-friendly, et cetera, et cetera. Well, today's guests are going to talk about a business, let's just say when disaster strikes, these are the first guys you're going to call. How about that? So welcome to the show, Stefan Figley. And Stefan is president of 1-800-Packouts, and Jerry Jones, who's director of franchise development. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Lance. Thanks for having us.
Awesome.
Thank you, Lance. Pleasure being here.
Awesome, Jerry. All right, Jerry, you go first. Let's talk about you. How the heck did you get into franchising? I know you weren't in third grade thinking, Mom, Dad, I'm going to go into franchising.
No, I'm going to give you the shortest, sweetest version I can. I'm a carpenter by trade, true and through. I was a union contractor out of Los Angeles, formally trained, went through the 2-year apprenticeship program, worked my way up to general superintendent. Worked on everything you could possibly work on: bridges, highways, hotels, high rises, clean rooms. I've done it all, medical facilities, and kind of just relocated to New Orleans in 2002, started a remodeling business, and ultimately was recruited into deep sea drilling. Did that from 2004 to 2010, worked on everything that you could think of in deep sea drilling, building blowout preventer stacks. And when the Deepwater Horizon blew up, everybody lost their drilling jobs, and I just had this gift for gab, and my current wife, said, go sell some cars. And I did 3.5 years at Toyota and 3.5 years at Chevrolet. And in 2017, I announced that I was going to retire from the car business, just grueling hours, 6-day work weeks. Was going to start a remodeling business in a small little company that some people may know about. It was Dwyer Group back then, but Neighborly Brands today. My old sales manager from Toyota was working there, and they headhunted me. And it's a funny story because I turned him down initially. And I think number 5 in charge, Brandon Hare, called me and said, did you turn the Dwyer Group down? And I told him why, and yes, and that I wanted to be on a specific team. And the next day he made me that offer, and I started selling air serve, heating and air in June of 2017. Did that for 5 straight years. Had an opportunity for a promotion, was bypassed for that. And at the same time, I was being contacted by 5-Star Franchising, and officially made the leap from neighborly franchising to 5-Star Franchising April of 2022. So this is my anniversary month.
I love it.
A year. So that's what got me into it. And my wife's owned a franchise for a couple of years, just recently sold it. I think we closed on that on May 2nd. So absolutely enjoy it. I can't imagine myself really doing anything else than helping people change their lives through business ownership.
So, Jerry, I just have to ask one question. Is franchising better for you than deep sea drilling?
So the answer is ultimately it's safer, yes, sir, quieter. It's less strain on my body. I love drilling. The science behind it, everything that was involved in it, I absolutely loved every aspect of it. Even the 14 grueling days of 12 hours a day straight, is just something to it. But yeah, I'm happier, and I think I'm going to have a better body for it.
Love it. Stefan, over to you, president of 1-800-Packouts. So what's the whole story with you? How the heck did you get into franchising?
Yeah, so I started in the marketing side of the world. I worked for a large advertising marketing agency, Leo Burnett, out of Chicago. We did marketing all over the world. I've worked Europe, Eastern Europe, and the U.S., and I knew at one point I wanted to come over to the corporate side of things. And so I moved over and started working with ServiceMaster, which is known for a lot of franchising brands. But I actually worked on a majority non-franchise brand, Terminex. And they needed somebody to take over the franchising portion of it. And since marketing was one of the largest portions of what the franchisees were really wanting help with, I said I volunteered and took it over, and so I did the franchising part, which was quite small for Terminex. Really enjoyed it. Got to know the owners that were engaged, and the difference between corporate and franchise and the franchise marketing elements. I then moved over to Mary Maids, which is it was 80% franchised, still within Service Master, and really started to enjoy working with owners and figuring out how to help them succeed in their own business. So that's how it all got started. And from there, became a certified franchise executive with the IFA, and have worked on 5 additional brands in franchising. And it's about the business, right? I wanted to be in business. I own a business, my wife and I do, separate, non-franchised, but I find that always an advantage when I speak to franchise owners. I know the headaches that they go through every day, whether it's hiring, payroll, insurance, all the dynamics that come along with it. So it's kind of nice to be able to talk and coach and work with franchisees on how they grow and to try to help them build their success. So I learn every day talking to franchise owners on how they do it and why. And I find it's extremely exhilarating for me to get engaged with them and really try to make that success happen.
Awesome. Great stuff. So first, big question. Gentlemen, describe what 1-800-Packouts is for the audience.
Sure. So in the restoration world, as you were saying, when a disaster happens, who are you going to call? We are one of the first groups that are involved. So you call a restoration company, you have flooding, there's a fire, all the different elements that could be there. What we do specifically is we do the content management portion of the business. So if there's a flood, if there's a fire, we are there to help package, remove personal items from a home or from a business. If it is a commercial property, we remove them, we clean them, we store them, and then we return them when everything's back to normal. So if you look through the restoration world, there's what happens to your personal items to be taken care of and protected if it was a home, while your home is being refurbished. If you have the flood, they remove the water, they fix it. You're doing redo floors, same deal. The furniture can't be in there, it must be removed, so that everybody else can do their work properly to get everything back together. So that's what we do in a nutshell.
Love it. Obviously a much needed business. And so let's talk about franchisees. How many franchisees or how many territories do you have open these days? And tell us a little bit about that. What's the history of the company?
Sure. So I'll get it started. Jerry will jump in on this a little bit too. We started in 2016 franchising, and we have 22 active franchise owners at about 51 territories. So many of our owners own multiple territories. They've been involved for several, most of the ones that are there now, the majority of them have been involved for multiple years. The open territories and what they service, these are, what you do and your dedicated proprietary territories are one thing. What you can service may be a little bit more. And so we service a very vast geography with that. But there are many holes, what we call white space, right? In the franchise world, the franchisor world, we call it white space, where we can't cover very well.
Blue ocean, right?
Yeah, it's blue ocean. So it's, and for us in the insurance, because we deal with a lot of insurance world in the insurance work, when there are issues in locations that we don't have a territory and an insurance carrier needs some assistance, we do get a phone call a lot of the times to see if we can help. And we don't want to necessarily turn those down. So we get engaged with our franchise owners to see if anybody would be willing to travel and execute that job, maybe in a place that's 6 hours away from their location. And that happens every once in a while, but it gives our franchisees an opportunity to continue to grow their business. But at the same time, we service the industry that we have as a majority of our business that comes from. But Jerry, is there some other things that you want to add to that as well for our number of franchisees?
Yeah, no, you covered it. You covered it really well. One thing I want to add, Lance, is for everybody is our territories are 1 to 1.5 million people in a territory.
Wow, that's a big territory.
it's a very big territory, and we don't get a lot of repeat customers, and anybody that is a repeat customer has just got bad luck. So we do need a much larger territorial space to operate in, and so some of our earlier owners were already within the restoration space. We're covering large territorial ground, and so they had multiple territories just because they exceeded the territory limit. So now when we're bringing people in, we're really rarely selling somebody 3 million people, right? So they can really get activated, build a really successful business with that first territory, and then have an opportunity to expand later. But our territories are very large. So I wanted to just clarify a little bit of that. And we plan to double our ownership this year alone.
That's awesome.
To have just under 50 owners operating here in the United States. That's the goal.
That's awesome. So talk about who it is. So let's put it this way. If you look at your top 10% of high performing franchisees, your top 5, if you will, where did they come from, and how did they choose? I tell people all the time, franchising is a two-way street. So you chose them, they chose you. Where did they come from? Who is a franchisee of 1-800-Packouts?
So that's actually it's a dynamic that's actually changing right now in 1-800-Packouts. So if you look at our top performers today, the majority of them, let's go to the top 5. 4 out of the top 5 probably came from the restoration industry. They own a restoration company that does water mitigation, fire mitigation, mold mitigation. They had previous knowledge of the industry. What they saw was the gap of having to do the performance of the mitigation, and then the specialty aspect in the detailed aspect of dealing with the content management, right? So you have to remove folks' property, you have to inventory it properly, to be able to justify it to the insurance carriers, you have to clean it properly, which is a misnomer by many people. They think they can do the cleaning, and they can't do it to the level of what the insurance company and what the customer and the homeowner would consider a viable clean in that situation. So because of that, they wanted the correct process, the best process to follow. So that's what drove, I would say, 4 out of our top 5 right now were from that arena. The other one was a top salesperson. He and his business partner, they're 2 that own, and she's on the business side. She runs the operational financial side, all of the business, and he runs the marketing and the growth mechanisms of their business. And he did not come from the restoration industry. He had knowledge of some of the general area of the industry, but he came in looking to sell folks on a service that was specialized. And he's been very successful at it. The 2 of them work very well hand in hand. So that's the current dynamic. If you look at the new dynamic, we still have some of the folks from restoration coming over that want to add this specialty. But what we're finding is folks that have a sales background. They find this as a very interesting topic to jump into for us specifically. And folks that have done due diligence and are looking for something that is more around the recession-proof, not impacted by but where the economy stands. This is heavily backed by an insurance base, uncontrollable types of activities. And so we're starting to see a lot of folks that were looking for a longer term investment. How do they put into this? How can they grow it? And then what elements do they need to bring to the table to be a success in our business? So we have a different dynamic, a little bit of a shift coming on in that when we're seeing our current folks that are looking at a 1-800-Packouts. So
yeah, that's so interesting. But I love this part of the story where 4 out of the 5 are in the restoration business and really saw the gap. So you talk about the perfect proof of concept, and we'll talk a little bit about validation later. I mean, talk about amazing validators that know exactly why this business exists. I love it.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about investment. So what is it typically, what's the investment to get in? I know there's always a range for those playing along at home, the franchise disclosure document that you will be given by any franchise company, including 1-800-Packouts. You'll see the item 7, which will lay out the investment. And so let's talk a bit about the investment.
Sure. Initially, and Jerry, I want you to chime in on this as well. When you look at this, for us, there's the territory fee up front, but you have to have enough invested into the business to be able to perform the business that's there. And so we start somewhere that we think the initial investment is around $150,000 to $170,000 and can rise up to around the $300,000 mark for an initial investment. Now, there are so many variations to why it ranges from one to another. How many vehicles are you going to put into the mix at the beginning? So this is where it's very important to understand as a potential buyer into a franchise, what do you need? What's in your pro forma to make the success that you think is successful? And we as a franchisor can look back and we know what we think, but it's not us. It is you as a buyer, as an owner, an entrepreneur. What is success for you in that buyer? And so from there, that's the differences. So there's full packages of cleaning stations. There's different aspects on the number of vehicles. There's the size of the warehouse that you want to go. We have a recommendation and a minimum requirement, but we have folks that will jump on top of that and even go bigger right out of the gate. But it all depends on how they have their business model, where they're going to see the growth, how they're going to do their marketing, et cetera. So when we look at this, that's how we range, is kind of that, I'd say around the 150 to just under the 300 mark is what we think is a reasonable range that we've seen in our business owners. And Jerry,
I'll add
Go ahead, Jerry.
Add a little bit more. I want to add a little bit more to that. Stefan, you hit the nail on the head. And another reason for the range, folks, is geographically, right? East Coast, West Coast, real estate may be a little bit higher than Missouri or Texas, right? So depending on where that is, labor rates can change. What you're having to lay out in that business. So whether you buy a new moving truck or a pre-owned moving truck, because we don't have a preference, it just depends on how that individual wants to operate that business. So that plays into the range as well. And finally, when you're dealing with insurance work, insurance pays on different cycles, like 30 to 60, maybe 60 to 90-day cycles. So that's additional working capital that you need on the payroll side to continue to float the team once you have that grand opening. And we really do strive for a 90-day opening, which allows 90 to 100-day opening, which allows our owners to onboard fairly quickly and start getting those packouts and start filling that warehouse and generating that revenue.
So, Jerry, you just mentioned warehouse. So is that something you start with one warehouse, and as you become a incredibly successful franchisee, you have multiple warehouses because you're that busy storing everything?
Absolutely. One of the advantages that we have is our business is fully assetable. So whether you lease your warehouse and initially on a 3 or 5 year lease with an option to purchase and eventually buy that warehouse, an average water claim reconstruction process on a property is 4 to 6 months. So you have a grand opening for 4 to 6 months. That franchisee's packing out property, taking it to the warehouse, cleaning it, and storing it. So the potential to fill that warehouse up within that first year is extremely high. So a lot of our franchisees, especially our average operating franchises around that 6-figure mark or 7-figure mark, they're running 2 to 4 warehouses. I mean, we have franchisees that have 70,000 square foot of warehouse space, whether that's 2 or 3 buildings. Yes, sir. So, and fire jobs could take a year or longer.
That's correct.
You get into some of these areas that north Mississippi, where some of these tornadoes that have some seriously heavy damage, if not destroyed, you could have a lot of content in your warehouse for a long time.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, and obviously a much needed service. Let's talk about the selection process. So how does this happen? So a broker consultant like myself sends you somebody, or someone sees your website, finds you on social media. How does this process start from start to finish?
Yeah, so I'm going to let Jerry take this because it's around the franchise development side, and he's the expert at it. So I'll add the color on this one, but Jerry, go ahead and walk through how we go through that.
Absolutely, Lance. That's a great question. The simplest version is a territory check. We've got to make sure that the territory that they want to operate in is a viable territory, that it's available, and it'll work, right? North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, Anchorage, Alaska are not viable markets. There's not even 800,000 people in the entire states in some of those states. So again, we need 1 million to 1.5 million in population in a territory. So territory checks where it all starts. From there, it is a information gathering process, right? In the beginning, the first 3-4 conversations are me or somebody at 1-800-Packouts providing information to the client, to the candidate, making sure that they can see themselves, envision themselves operating a business of this magnitude, being able to handle the logistics, being able to manage and, work with a team of 4, 6, 8, 12 people, right? And then getting them into a validation. I do something a little bit unique where every Wednesday I have a different owner on a Zoom call. So, and they're sharing their story with a group of people. Last week I had 9 candidates on a Zoom call with an owner out of Charlotte. And it allows these candidates to sit through a couple of weeks of calls. And that really paints a broad picture. I mean, it really helps them understand what this looks like. From there, it's application, financial discussions. How are we going to fund this business? There is a big range. 150 to 300,000 is a big range. Where do we need to do? Do we need to secure some additional working capital on their behalf, where we can have national vendors to help and assist in that process as well, so that they can get all the information they need, so that by the time we all agree that this is a viable candidate, we want to get them involved into a meet the team. We try to do that in person in our national headquarters, which is in North Atlanta, Ball Ground, Georgia, where we can truly put them in our national training center, spend 6 hours with them, and let them really genuinely see a behind the scenes look, meet our team. We get to meet them, and then I'll make a decision on if this is the right fit for everybody.
And I want to add something to that too, is the geographies and the validations. We have one of the things that we've tried to do or been conscious of is on the validations. It's not just our biggest operators. We open it up to any of our franchise owners. We vary from different East Coast, West Coast. We literally have some owners in California. We have owners in the East Coast, like you said, Charlotte. We have the Midwest. So that we have different size owners. We also have now engaged some of our newer owners that have just opened up, because as a candidate comes through this process, one of the things we started to see, and I think it's a very valid point for those looking to buy, what's the process? What's the onboarding process like? Is this something I can do? Are they there for me? Are they giving me that information that I need to be successful in that first 12 months, in that first 18 months of the business? And so we have started to add that into the validation rotation, so that, I mean, you always can call anybody as you're going through the process. You can ask for any of those, but we try to give them that solution so they have options to be able to hear multiple different points of views and get a full taste of what it is to be a Packouts owners. Because one success of somebody that's the salesperson out of California is different than the person in Chicago that's owned a mitigation and restoration company that started it, versus somebody on the East Coast that was actually a fleet distributor and decided to leave that business and come on board and has been very successful. So it's, I think that's a really big part of what we do at Packouts, is we're trying to show them everything that's possible so that they have a full range of what it is to be a Packouts owner.
Stefan, you brought something up. I'm glad you said that. We just signed up a gentleman that's very sharp, a young individual, millennial, that owned a pharmacy that is now in the restoration space and owns 2 territories for Packouts, or about to. So, wow. The talk about that range that we have is absolutely phenomenal. Next week, the owner that's going to be on my Zoom call is a gentleman that's been open for 2 months.
Love it.
So, good point, Stefan.
I love it. So let's talk about training. So you find these great individuals. Talk about the training process, because as you said, not everybody's from the restoration business. And like with most franchise brands, it sounds like your future is more like just smart people that are coming in the business that had zero experience. So let's talk about that training process.
Absolutely. In fact, I would say even the people that come from the restoration industry are not, they're there because they don't have this capability. This is a specialty. So training's huge for us. We have a national training center, as Jerry mentioned, and it's specific to our business. So we start with the basics, behind the scenes type of stuff. So the financials, the estimating capability, the software, all of that. We'll call it the soft side of the business, right? That's where, someone in the office is going to be doing a lot of this, or how do you evaluate to do the estimate. In the industry, there's a couple of tools that are very specific for the estimating portion. And so we have expertise on staff that can continue that help outside of just our initial training. But the other thing is there is a specialty on how you pack out a house, if you would. There's how much you put in the box that is right for the right padding and the protection of their belongings. That also, you can't just put like one glass in a box and then tell the insurance company, hey, I packed out 100 boxes.
Hey, Stefan, I just have to say, I haven't checked your, if you have a TikTok or an Instagram, but I'm having visions of every time I ever moved, not having a clue as to how heavy this box should be.
Yes.
And how much I'm actually going to break by the time everything gets there. So I have a vision of tutorials for America, regardless of whether they have a disaster or not.
Well, we can't give all the secrets away, right? I mean, that's part of it. That's why
Never
you're paying
mind,
us,
forget
right?
it. Secret sauce.
But Lance, you're absolutely right. It's like, oh, look at all these books. I'm looking at your bookcase. So look at all these books. Yeah, if I get a big or medium box, I can put all those books in one. Yeah, good luck on your back on that one, though, right? So, but it's we have this. There's the insurance company won't let you pack one glass and then a bunch of padding in it. Like, oh, here you go, because in the insurance world, we charge per box. We get paid per box. So the insurance company is worried about that. A mover is paying you by full weight. So they don't have as big of a concentration of what gets put in what box and so forth. They can pack as many boxes as they want based on what insurance the customer probably paid for, right? So, and so there are some differences, and we actually have some moving companies that have converted over as well. A couple of folks that were from the moving industry into the Packouts world. But we go through it. We have basically a house built inside of our warehouse for our training center, and it is fully stocked. It's a 1-bedroom, and we have all of our new owners pack out that house. So they have to pack it out. They have to inventory it and keep it up to speed with our inventory tools and what we recommend. They then have to pack it into a truck. And because there's certain ways we want it packed into a truck. And then from there, we then show them the cleaning aspect and walk them through a cleaning station that we have set up in our warehouse. We talk about getting everything cleaned, what it would go through the process, how it comes out of the process, et cetera. And then what do we do once it's clean? So we do it, and specifically how we box it. And we say, hey, if you put in 100 boxes that you pack the house out with, once you're done cleaning, you can't have 102 boxes because you're not getting paid for the extra 2 boxes. So there's some mentality.
I learned the hard way. I learned the hard way.
There's some fun things we do with wine glasses and so forth. Our VP of operations will walk over to the table and knock it off the table and see if anything breaks. And did you pad it correctly? And so then we have them bring it back, and basically a take back is what we say here in the business, in the industry. We do a take back, and we have to do it again and put it back into the house. And how do you move it? How do you unpack it properly, et cetera? So there's a full process to this. Now, you talk about training in this one. That's a pretty canned environment, right? We'll call it we're in a wind tunnel here. We're in a nice silo. Everything's perfect. And so that's one of the hard things I find in the training aspect of it. And you'll find it in every single franchise business when you're doing it as a mock versus the reality of the world. Yeah. And so we're actually opening up and doing an embedding program for franchisees, as well as we have an operating location very close by our national training center. And so we offer the franchisees the opportunity to embed with another franchise, so they go
like
out on
a ride along.
A ride along, yeah. Hey, they're going to be in the truck working at 6:30 in the morning. You're going to go. They got 2 packouts a day. You're riding with them and you're packing out with them. So you're learning what happens on the fly. You may run into some different scenarios when you're in the field, So we're offering that's something we're launching here, should be launched no later than June of this year. And that's not just for those coming on board, that's for our existing franchise owners. So you're running a business, and the staffing is always a big issue that you probably have talked about multiple times. I know owners talk about it all the time, especially in the service industry. And you got to rehire, you got to hire, and you got to train these folks, right? It's a specialty. You make more money, especially if you don't break stuff. So part of that is you have to take time away from your schedule or some of your employees' schedules to train some of these new folks. But we're also offering that you can send those folks into the embedding program at no additional charge, except the travel to get there. And they can be embedded for 2 or 3 days and get someone else to have the ride along, not just your team. So you're adding that element of training. The ongoing aspect of training is extremely important. And so we are fine tuning and documenting our first 12 months to 16 months of owning a business with 1-800-Packouts, because it isn't like here you go. It's like teaching a race car driver, right? We showed you what it looks like on a video screen, how to race this car, and hey, here you go. You're in the Indianapolis 500 tomorrow. Here are the keys. Thank you. Good luck. Wouldn't work great necessarily. And so we want to be there with them as they're going through their process. They're getting their first claims, and being there as they continue to build up their business, because that's how we think we can help them get to that successful delivery and meeting their goals.
Awesome. When you talked about validation earlier and, having the opportunity to talk to existing franchisees, what do they talk about with marketing? Because clearly you alluded to the fact that this ramp up period in the first year to 18 months is crucial. Well, 6 months certainly first, and then eventually a year. So talk about marketing and what's special about what you guys do with that to help the franchisees.
Sure. Marketing is extremely important, and it is in every single business that you're gonna run. And for us, the one thing that I think you'll hear a lot of franchisors say, we don't generate leads for franchisees. They do that. They protect themselves. It's part of our deal. We can't promise it because we can't guarantee it. What we do have is we have a marketing handbook. We have the suggestions of what they can do. We have marketing staff at corporate that can. I'm shocked at the lower number of folks, if you would, that I have currently that talk to our marketing director on a regular basis. So a new franchisee in 0 to 6 months, 7 to 12, I would expect them to have a minimum of a once a month established phone call to discuss their marketing. And so there, we have the overall national SEO and the website. And of course we have our 1-800-Packouts number and the call center that goes with that number. All of that's covered by corporate out of the marketing fund. There is a marketing fund that goes with that.
Yeah.
We do the trade shows, which is extremely important in a B2B environment, where a lot of ours come from insurance carriers or other folks in the industry. And so we're present and well accounted for at those major trade shows. All of that's taken out of there. So the next part of it is what do you do in your local market? And this is something that is very difficult. It's easy, I would say, for those that are starting up. If I was buying a franchise at 1-800-Packouts, I'd want to know, who do I go after? What are my targets if I came from outside the industry? We provide that all in the upfront portion, well before they open. I would start marketing. If I have a target date of June 1st, I would be spending May, at least the second half of May, marketing. Is there direct mail? Is there email campaigns? Do I need to go do face-to-face? I'd go introduce myself to all the restoration contractors that I don't think could handle a content job. And that would mean anybody that has less than 5,000 square feet of warehouse space. Hey, go knock on the door. Try to go talk to them. You're not going to sell them right then and there, but you're going to get, hey, I'm here. This is what I do. This is all I do. I'm focused on this. I can be a support mechanism to you. You don't have to worry about the insurance negotiations. I already handle all of that. We're a national company. So you're taking a lot of pressure off of another business, and you can take that portion for them, and that reduces their risk So we teach and work through all of those elements. What I've seen is when they get, as an owner gets pretty comfortable, they slow down on those elements. I've done it. I've talked to everybody in my market. Okay. When was the last time you talked to them? I talked to them 2 years ago. Oh, really? Their general managers turn over in the business all the time. They may not know about it. They may have tried to go after it and try to do the same business. Go find out what their new problems are.
Yeah.
Go be a solution to them. And so that's something that is the ongoing process for franchise owners as they get past that initial part.
Stefan, I wonder, with the call center that you have and the connection with the insurance companies, obviously there's some sort of internal notification process for insurance companies to say, this franchisee in California just came on board. So, and then either the call center or the insurance company directly reaches out to that franchisee.
Yes. So on the call center, we initiate a new franchisee that they're open. They'll be on the call center, and so yes, carriers, agents, adjusters, and restoration companies as well. They all can call the number and say, "Hey, I've got a claim, and here's the zip code. Here's where it is." The territory will already be the service territory. What they're able to do without any second glance is already set in the call center. And so if it fits one of them, the call center will do the transfer right over to the franchise owner of the market, get them the claim, get them the contact information. Sometimes it's even a warm connection. And then that gives the owner, the business owner, the chance to go ahead and get engaged with it. If it falls outside of a territory that is currently said to be serviced, it comes to corporate. So we get it. And so it falls into one of the folks here at corporate. We then can figure out where it is. We can reach out to an owner that's fairly close and have them follow up on the claim to see if it's a claim that would be worth the extra effort, meaning a drive time. Maybe it's 3 hours or 4 hours away. But if it's a large multifamily fire, for example, I mean, I've got owners all over the place that'll make that trek because it's a lot of business. Jerry made the comment, fire tends to stay stored for up around 12 months. I mean, you can ask all our owners, they're going to give you, 9 months. I've got one for 2 years that's been in my warehouse.
My brother's house burned down in Malibu with the Malibu, California, with 400 other homes, but I don't know that he had much to store. I think it was all incinerated in his case, and it's been 5 years plus, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's the difference.
If a house burns down, you got some loss.
Yeah. Total loss, that's a different story. But you can have it where the kitchen is a kitchen fire, and what you say, they just have to redo the kitchen. The problem is that smoke got in the soot got into the air system, and it got pushed all around the house. So everybody's bedding in their beds, and their sofas, and their chairs, and their tables all have need to be cleaned and prepared. And then even to the point of getting into the soft goods of their clothes and so forth. They don't want smoky clothes. And so you're correct. The total loss.
Smoky food, maybe, but not clothes.
That's right. Absolutely. So
I want to go back to something that you said that was just so important. First of all, people ask me all the time, well, why should I invest in a franchise when I can do a business on my own? And I always sort of joke, but I'm serious when I say this is America. You get to do whatever you want to do. If you want to start your own business and compete against all these very experienced business owners, by all means, go right ahead. But you said something so appropriate or so important about these restoration owners, several of your owners that have already been in the restoration business. And instead of doing do the Packouts on their own, they said, no, I'm gonna buy a franchise that knows exactly what they're doing. So talk a little bit about that difference. Both of you have been in the business certainly a long time. So share with the audience, why a franchise? Why Packouts?
Well,
I'll start.
Yeah, go for it, Jerry. No, go for it.
I'll give you a rest for a second.
There's no fighting.
Unique analogy. I have a unique analogy. If I'm in the need of a pickup truck, what's going to possess me to build one from the ground up in my garage for a year and pray and hope that when I turn the key, it actually starts? versus go spend 4 hours at a dealership, 40 grand, and I got a truck that's warranted, guaranteed to operate.
I love that,
That's it.
Jerry.
That's it. You're buying a business that has already been proven to be successful. The key is, are you a person that can follow that business? That's the key, right? So, the second piece to this is the national name. Starting a business on your own is going to make you a great name in your backyard. It's not going to necessarily put you on a national level. It's not going to necessarily get you that competitive name, especially in the industry that we're in, that is a very crowded industry. There's a lot of national accounts that national companies want to do business with national companies. It's factual, right? And so those are the two compelling things that I tell people. Stefan, you can certainly add to that if you'd like.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's it. I mean, you have something to rely on. It's a proven case, just like Jerry said. I think there's something else to it that I think a lot of people overlook. It's the network that you're joining. You already have business folks that are doing the same work you're doing and not in competition with you, that you should be able to share information with. And I think one of the deals is, oh, I can start a business on my own. You absolutely can. Just like you said, Lance, 100%. Do you know every single piece of thing you need to get this type of business started? Yeah, we listened to it. We were just at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and we heard a restoration owner of a franchise restoration company, small deal. And they said, well, I didn't have anybody to do the contents, so I did it myself. And my Whirlpool washer has never worked so much in its life. And right there, I'm like going, oh, okay, please don't tell the insurance company that that's how you cleaned it, because that wouldn't be satisfactory inside the industry. But it was like, we just solved the problem. Hey, that's great. That's what entrepreneurs do. They solve problems. The thing is, how do you solve it to the best efficiency? And how can you make the most money off of it? Do you want to have to solve every single problem? That's difficult. Hey, I'm a marketing expert. Great. I can do all the marketing. I don't know how to clean. I don't know how to pack it correctly. It's great. We get moving companies that come in. They say they know how to pack. First of all, we say they don't pack it right for insurance worlds. Do they know how to do the financial side of it? Do they know how to do the marketing side of it? So we give you a head start on that. We give you guidelines. We are available for a franchisor is available and should be available for questions at all times. Our goal of success isn't just the number of franchisees that are engaged with us or the revenues. Our success is based on the franchisees' success. If they're successful, we're successful. And that's the victory in the whole thing. We're not making more money than the franchisees are.
Yeah.
That's the entire point, is we only make a percentage of what it is to help them be successful at everything. And so, yeah, that the difference is, do you want to do it on your own, or do you want to have some, like a network and a relationship capability to learn more? And that's why I think the difference is.
So speaking,
Stefan,
go ahead, Jerry.
Stefan brought up a great point. When you have owners that are running an identical business as you, a Packout in California, Texas, or New Jersey is a Packout. But when you're part of a franchise, it's like a country club setting. It's a country club feeling, right? You're with like-minded people doing the exact same thing you're doing. And you can pick that phone up and talk to anybody that's a franchisee and or a corporate person that has been there, done that, seen it, and experienced it. And that takes a lot of headache and hassle from an independent operator that's trying to figure it out on their own and does have nobody they can rely on other than family or friends that might give them advice. We'll leave it at that, whether it's right, wrong, or not.
Love it. Stefan, on your LinkedIn profile at the very top, it says EBITDA growth driver right at the top. And for those listening, EBITDA, you don't know what it is. It's cash flow, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, very common business term. So you are an EBITDA growth driver. I was joking with you guys, but very serious before I hit record here. It's like, I want an EBITDA growth driver on my side. So what motivated you to put that there other than it's true?
Well, I mean, so I started, again, as I said, I started in the marketing world on the agency side. My entire objective for my client was to make them money. So it's a return on investment, right? So the better the return on investment, the better the EBITDA. That's That's how it flows. And to keep it real simple, it's the profit you can make off of your business.
Yes.
And so everything that I've done in my career focuses on the profit as we get it. And it fits with franchising. What I've found over my career is it fits very well with franchising.
Yeah.
I like franchising because I enjoy the conversations with franchise owners to deal with their problems that they're having, their frustrations, and to help them reach goals of profit or growth, to make their goals come true. And so to do that, you got to be able to put all of the elements together. It's an efficiency of operations. It's an efficiency of the marketing and the effort that you spend to generate the growth for the business and the revenues. So it's the combination of everything put together. And I've done it for my career, which is over 28 years. But I've also done it in the franchising world. So it isn't just on the marketing side. I've been the chief operating officer. I've been a CEO. I've been presidents of other brands. But the thing that I've come back to more and more is I enjoy having to try and solve all those problems. And that's what usually an entrepreneur, most of them enjoy that. That's what they're good at. They're going to go do this. This is mine. I don't have anybody else to deal with this. This is mine. Well, we're giving you some roadmaps to do this. And these are some efficient ways. And just like we just said, part of the network and the benefit is so that you don't waste money trying to learn and figure everything out from scratch. There's no reason to waste that money. The franchisor should have a pretty good roadmap if they're a strong franchisor. And as you look through the industry of franchising, many folks have good roadmaps in different types of industries. And so that's what it is. And why do I put it there? Because that's what I've done for almost 30 years.
I love it.
That's the goal. I mean, you want to ask, I said, are you making money or not? If you're not, let's talk about that. They're like, well, I thought you were going to come in. I came into Packouts and I get an owner telling me, I thought you were going to tell me I got to get my software package up. Yeah, that's one thing. Let's go talk about, are you making money? No, I'm not making money. Okay, show me, are you not making money? Nope. Oh, you're not making money. Okay, so let's go back.
Let's go.
So what are the levers and dials we can turn to get you towards that efficiency? And so that becomes my goal in what I do as a president for a brand. And that's what we deliver. And so my team, that's our focus on operations and marketing and finance and everything. That's our focus. Because if we're delivering that, it makes it easy for Jerry to go out and deliver what we do, because he's like, well, here's what everybody's doing. So that's why I put it up there, is because it's really all my goal is to drive EBITDA for me or for the franchisees that are part of my brand.
Good stuff. Well, gentlemen,
and to add to that,
well, you're going to add to it in your final thought. So roll that into your final thought, final words of wisdom, Jerry.
This is a perfect topic to end on. So I want to add to that. There's a lot of businesses that make money and have zero profitability. So when you're looking at EBITDA, what Stefan said is absolutely accurate. Being able to know the difference from making money and being profitable through EBITDA. So that was a great segue. I want to close in something that somebody taught me a while back. I think it was a very smart person, Robert Tunmeyer. Some of you in the franchise world know that name. The difference between a job and business ownership. Business ownership will provide you with three specific things: lifestyle, wealth, and equity. A job cannot provide you with all three of those things. Most people can get a great lifestyle out of a job. Some can create wealth out of a job. Most are creating equity for somebody else. And so you really want to look at what entrepreneurship and business ownership can do is those three things: wealth, lifestyle, wealth, equity.
Love it. Thank you, Jerry. And Stefan, final words of wisdom, I should say, as well.
Sure. As a potential franchisee, be ready to work. It's the bottom line. We talked about EBITDA and profit. It's if you put the effort in, you build it, and you continue to work it, it will continue to deliver for you. And it's something you have, it's yours. Even if you're part of a franchise, that's the entire part. The franchise is just another lever to help build your business that you want to do. And I think that's extremely important, because if you're not willing to do the work, this is not buying a job. Franchisees and joining a franchise system is not buying yourself a job. It is literally building your business. And it's a slightly different element. Jerry made a good point on that, and I second that. And it's just know that you're going to get happy. If you're successful at it, you're going to get happy at a certain level. Don't stop. If you're at that point, you're gonna run out, and then maybe it's time to think of either an exit, succession, or a way to step back and let it run itself and be a little more absentee. So, but that is still a business plan, and just don't stop, and you'll find the growth and the value that comes with it.
Sounds like a plan to me. Well, gentlemen, Stefan and Jerry, thank you so much both for being here. And we'll be talking again soon. And thanks again for listening.
Thanks a lot, Lance.
Thanks for having us, Lance. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for listening today. Please like, follow, and subscribe. This is Lance Graulich. Until next time.